forbid you to communicate freely with your family and friends on social media, all based on how I think and feel. You see, you are hereby shadow banned and de-amplified, suppressed and censored, all based on the will and the governing authority of the censorship masters. First Amendment rights be damned. You are hereby prohibited from free and fair collaboration, propagation, and dissemination of ideas and thoughts without the expressed approval of the digital overseer. Your channels, shorts, posts, tweets, text, audio, and videos are all under the authority and dominion of the digital overseer. You are hereby monitored and restricted without notification, consultation, or emancipation. It is an indefinite social media incarceration. Your hope is lost. Your freedom deferred. Unless you decide to make a change for freedom.
The reason why I preface this is that, the idea of the language and how this person noticed something about herself based on the linguistic information that's in Ron's documentary. So I think it's very interesting because I think Most High endow some of us to have certain knowledge and to bring it forward that are factual. And this is how you prove whether information is true or not. Right. So
watch Candace Owens, because if she's a proponent of truth, she's a reporter, she's a journalist. She has to report the facts. She likes to bring out the truth about the ADL, about other entities and Kamala Harris and whoever else. But when the Indian lady who speaks Tamil, when she tells her that, yes, these words are true. Yes, that's what it means. And he made the connection. Candace Owens is gonna say, really? Oh wow, we need to get him on the show. Let him break it down for us. No, they're not interested in knowing about these kind of things. Oh, she's saying that her language is connected to Hebrew and Aramaic and other ancient Shemitic languages like the Assyrian language, the Babylonian language, the Aramean language, Aramaic. But look at her composure. And she's not, I don't know if she's interested in saying, well, we need to get some more of this truth from the man who made the movie himself, Ron Dalton. It's a sad thing, because even on the ADL website, it says Hebrews to Negroes, what you need to know. And it says movie Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America, produced by filmmaker Ronald Dalton Jr. It's there on the ADL website. It's there. So I have a name. You can contact me. I'm always, you can Google me and you can find out how to reach me. But Candace Owens, almost like she's kind of curious and bewildered and surprised. Oh, you watched the whole movie? You watched the whole movie? And M.I.A. she kind of pauses like, should I admit that I watched the movie? Is that something I should do or shouldn't do on live TV? And then she says, yeah, I watched the movie. And after that, you'll see what she has to say after that.
In Mesopotamia, on the Euphrates River, it's called Ur, and Ur means town in Tamil, which is the language I speak. So, and if you take like Abraham's dad, who used to like chisel idols, that was his job. Like Hinduism has that, a lot of idol worship. We create idols and we dress it up and we worship it. And we also worship cows, we worship snakes. Like Hinduism does do all of that. So it has a lot in common with the Babylonian belief system, and Hollywood loves it. You know, stars love it, and Israelis love it. You know, so there is this whole bit that comes from, because if you take that other documentary that was banned, the one that Kyrie tweeted, that
Did they actually ban it in the end? No, I think it's still on Amazon. I think there were calls to ban it.
I
Yeah,
know you're not allowed to talk about it, but
you're not allowed to tweet about it. That's for
you're
sure.
not allowed to tweet about it, but it was fascinating. The first half an hour talked about how the Tamil language makes up 30% of, you know, whether it's Hebrew, Aramaic, and all of these languages.
Yeah, from Hebrews, just so people can know what we're speaking about, Kyrie Irving, the basketball player, tweeted out a link to a documentary called From Hebrews to Negroes.
Yeah.
And it was available on Amazon. He tweeted it absent any commentary, and cancel culture came for him like I've never seen. And they were wanting him to take 6 steps to get his life back for sharing the documentary link that he didn't do the documentary, he was just sharing it. But this documentary, and you're just saying what?
Well, I'm a Tamil, so I'm the only Tamil in this Hollywood music, whatever scene. So, like, you know, it's like, yeah, I get that. Like, some of those words are older than Sanskrit, you know. And
Did you watch the full documentary?
I did, yeah.
Can you communicate to people?
Yeah, I go with Sanskrit.
Well, yeah.
Well, I can't really remember it. No, I watched it when he tweeted it. But I just remember the first half an hour, they talk about linguistics, and I'm into words, and I'm into linguistics, and blah, blah, blah. So I was watching it and thinking, yeah, all of those words are right. They are Tamil. And that I don't know Hebrew, but it was interesting to see Tamil words that are the same as Hebrew words, or, you know, Sanskrit and Aramaic and, you know, whatever the comparison. There was another one that they compared it to, but these is true.
No, I'm good. You know, it's the crazy thing is that my daughter is in college, and one of her classmates sent her the video and said, "Look at this. They're talking about your dad's movie." And so my daughter texted me today, and I said, "I already seen it already. You're late." And so it goes to show you how people are paying attention to what Candace Owens is who she's interviewing and what they're saying. And, you know, like I said before, in 2022, when this whole thing went down, and Kyrie said, he said, "I'm not the one that made the documentary." And Candace Owens says, Kyrie didn't do the documentary. They always say that. Oh, Kyrie didn't do the documentary. Kyrie didn't make the documentary. He's not the one that made the documentary. Okay, well, then who made the documentary? And so for the whole 2022, when Kyrie was under fire, under heat, the ADL, all these people were just going at Kyrie, and he kept telling them, "I didn't make the documentary. Well, you guys are attacking me. I'm not the one that made it." No, nobody and their mama was trying to interview the man that made the documentary. Lawrence told me about what Kyrie did. He told me, and then he interviewed me. Other than that, who else did you see that interviewed me in 2022? Like, nobody. Like, the whole world. The whole world. You got the mass media reporters, the CNN, Wall Street, the Washington Post, the New Yorker, the New York Times, the Daily Beast, Rolling Stones, Candace Owens. Everybody had Hebrews to Negroes in their title. They were talking about it. But I'm here just like chilling, like nothing's happening. Like, I'm just like a ghost. And it like Laura, like I told Laura at the time, like Laura's like, well, Candace Owens just saying, "I'm just gonna have this guy on the show. What harm can it do? What harm can it do?" She interviewed Ray J. She interviewed Tristan Tate and Andrew Tate and Kanye and M.I.A. Who else is she going to interview? And they're going to start talking about this movie. And she's going to mention the movie and give people, "Oh, it's a movie on Amazon. You can get it right now. It's streaming. It's called From Hebrews to Negroes." It's like, come on, Candace. You're a reporter. You're a journalist. Just reach out to me. I'm in America right now, so I can come to you. You can sit down. You can put me on the hot seat. Ask me all types of questions. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm right there, just ready, ready for you. But
Ron, she just said she threw her head back. M.I.A. threw her head back. Said, "Oh, you're going to get me canceled."
Exactly. That shows you they're afraid. They're afraid. Like they can't even say that they seen the movie. They can't. You realize? Do you realize what kind of fear that is? That if somebody says, did you see the movie? Like if somebody asks Kevin Hart or Will Smith or Jay-Z or P. Diddy or Cat Williams, did you see the movie Hebrews and Negroes? Yeah, I seen the movie. Oh, I'm about to get canceled. That's crazy that they would even think that. Just by saying that I saw the movie and she admitted that she learned something. She learned something from the movie and she agreed that, yes, the Tamil words in the movie were correct because I speak Tamil. So in a sense, she's sort of low-key promoting it as it's a good educational movie. If you're an Indian and you're going to see that there's some connection between the Indian Tamil language and Shemitic languages, like Hebrew and the Babylonian Assyrian script and Aramaic. And just from that alone, she's thinking that either her handlers, her producer, her managers are going to call her and say, you know what, you shouldn't have did that. You shouldn't have said you watched the movie. You shouldn't have expounded on it. You shouldn't have said that it was the stuff in the movie was right. I watched the first 30 minutes was about linguistics and breaking down this and that. No, you shouldn't have done that.
And that's the thing. That's the thing what I'm saying, because what she does is that she gave credence to the legitimacy and how correct the movie is. That's what I'm saying. Most-I, he plays chess. He plays chess. So it's like, that's why I always tell you, Ron, don't worry about it, whether your time comes up or not, whether they interview you or not. Don't even worry about it. I believe the Most-I is doing something to where he's allowing this movie to just go forward. And I believe a lot of prominent people may have watched it. And as you can see, trickle little by little, it's like they can't let it go. They keep talking about it, which means whatever is in that movie, that document, is so potent and so important. They can't stop. They can't, because you're dealing with literally the foundation of mankind. When it comes down to your DNA, your belief, your source, who your creator is, where you come from, something that can upend the whole world in the way that it is right now as far as the status quo. So when she saw that, she's like, wait, hold up. I speak Tamil. I know what time it is. I didn't know it relates to Hebrew. And then she knows the whole Abraham's father. You see what I'm saying? So you see how profound this is. And this is what they don't want people to know. So now you got one of their own, Hollywood, saying, oh my God, this is real. And then she literally said, this is true. You see what I'm saying? So what I think what it is, the Most-I is validating you don't need validation from her. You don't. But it is refreshing to see that even some of the people that you are pointing out from other nations that's in this documentary are coming forward. And guess what? They're giving legitimacy to the documentary. And it's correct. You see what I'm saying? And so and it is what it is. And so, someone is saying she's a liar, but the whole person talking about their whole life, but you're going to call her a liar. You know what I'm saying?
How you gonna tell somebody that speaks Tamil? She's from South India, Tamil Nadu, and she looked at the stuff that I said, and in the medical field, I'm around Indians all day long. In the hospitals, Northern Indians, Central Indians, Southern Indians, even if I've had accountants that are Indian, and I'll tell them, like, listen, I said, how do you say this in your language? How do you say this in your language? Can you write it out for me in English? And they'll write it out. They'll do all this stuff. And I'll come back with them. I'll come back with a worksheet and I'll say, okay, I want you to write down the names in English, how you would say this in your language. And they did it. And I took it from them. I said, thank you. I took it. I went back. I studied the ancient Assyrian, the ancient Babylonian, and the ancient Aramean languages. And I started lining them up and saying, okay, I'm seeing similarities in these languages. And then I started to research these linguistic scholars from Malaysia and India, and they too had made the connection. And so I was like, so I'm not crazy here, because these guys are linguistic experts, and they have also made the connection between their languages in ancient Mesopotamian Shemitic languages, because the descendants of Shem were Ashur, Arphaxad, Aram, Elam, Lud. These are your Arameans. The later we speak the Aramaic language. These are your Assyrians that speak the Assyrian language. The Babylonians that speak the ancient Babylonian language, and the Sumerians and the Akkadians. This is them. And it says in the Bible that Terah's nativity was the land of Ur. And Ur has the same meaning in the Tamil language as it does in the Sumerian, Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian languages, as does so many other words in the Tamil language, identical to the Mesopotamian Shemitic languages, as like we always say, the Kikongo language in the Congo. You got hundreds of words in their lexicon that's identical to Hebrew in the meaning and in the spelling. How can you have 200-300 words in the Kikongo, the Congo lexicon, or their words that are identical to Hebrew? How can you have that and say that they can't be the Hebrews when, in addition to that, they are practicing many, if not all, of the traditions that are in the Torah?
Right, and that's my whole point about showing what she was speaking. And if you watch it even more, she goes down and break down the whole Talmud about the seed aspect of it. That's not even in the documentary. So when people see people calling her a liar, she definitely talking, and she actually speaking facts that's in the Bible that you can confirm, but yet we would call her a liar.
They're haters. They're haters.
As a people, we hate knowledge. We hate objective facts when we hear it, when it doesn't line up with how we think. And the thing about it is, when scripture jumps off the page, and then we have our own preconceived notion about what we think it is, we need to let those preconceived notions go. Allow the scripture to reign supreme. When the scripture, the truth shall make you free. It shall set you free. So if you are ignorant about what she's talking about, what she's giving factual information, and if you don't know, then you're still living in that la-la land because you don't agree, because it doesn't agree with how you agree.
Well, you know, I don't even think that Candace Owens would know how to properly interview you at this point, because she is a journalist and she does have to take time to actually research. So I think she would have to be, able to hold a conversation with you regarding DNA, regarding geography, regarding the Bible, because she has Catholic leanings. And so she's already coming from a Hellenistic, thinking point. So she would have to educate herself. And I think she just might even be intimidated a bit by what it is that you're presenting. And I think that's really, with a lot of these people like Mark Lamont Hill, they're intimidated by what you're bringing to the table, because this is not, information that you just readily learn in school, in church, any of that. So I think that, they're trying to save face also in a way. So it's a lot that goes into why it is that they don't want you to come on. But mainly, I believe that it's about changing the narrative. You're changing the narrative and opening up Black people's eyes everywhere. Because notice she said Hebrews to Negroes, but she didn't say the rest of the name of the documentary. She didn't say Wake Up Black America. So we have to understand that they don't want us collectively to wake up, specifically us. So there's a lot that goes into why it is that there's so much rejection on these mainstream platforms. But I think the more and more that we're coming out and we're not being afraid and we're speaking up and we're saying what needs to be said and learning what needs to be learned, those walls are going to have to come down. And at the right time, as somebody wrote in the comment section, Ron, you're going to see it's going to be massive amounts of people that are going to be able to hear your work again.
Yeah, I think with Candace, I mean, she is, friends with Kanye or Ye.
Right.
And we do have a couple of clips with Ye and Candace, talking. And several times, I mean, you've seen Kanye try to tell her, right? And I think she's getting that influence too. So I believe that she's close. I mean, she's close to
at least understanding the other perspective. And really the criticism, that I'm not sure if it's in our whose chat that was in, but the criticism that, Ron was getting primarily came from the Rolling Stones. So the Rolling Stones, they were the ones that came out with the, this editorial, about Ron, they said all kinds of, lies and misrepresented his stance and his position on many, many things. And since then, there have been other people, in addition to myself, that have come out and shown that the Rolling Stones points that they brought out in their article is all debunkable. It's all debunked, actually. Right. And so I truly believe that at some point that Rolling Stones editorial will get, how can I put it, proven wrong, in the public. I think that we'll have to come out with a public, apology to Ron of some sort, and all these other, mainstream media outlets that hitched their wagon to that editorial. I think they're going to have to recant that story as well. So that's what I'm believing for.
But Brother Benayah, I want to also say that I think that the thing that we have to be careful about, and I wrote this in my community tab, is that there's this syncretism that is happening now in the Israelite community where they're trying to, like, if we can't beat them, join them type of mentality. So you have a lot of people within the Ashkenazi community that are trying to now embrace, quote unquote, Black Jews, but they're doing it because they want them to be a part of Judaism. And we need to understand, like, I think one of the reasons why Ron is so, he's such a threat when it comes to them is because he makes a clear distinction between us and them. And that's what I feel like we need to do, because they are not us and we are not them. And so they want us to all group together like one big happy family, but they're promoting beliefs that are antithetical to what the scriptures say and what we as believers say. So I think that that's another reason why they want to silence him as much as they can. And that's what all of us, they want to silence us. But because the work got out there with Hebrews to Negroes, it's very difficult to kind of close that box now. It's kind of difficult to shut that down. But it's just something I'm seeing. We got to be very careful about this syncretism when it comes to true bloodline Israelites and those in the Ashkenazi community, because we are not the same.
Yeah. And I always, for the most part, tell people that I talk to, we at the point now when you identify as who you are is what you are, right? And so we know that's the agenda. And anyone who calls themselves those other people, let them be that. Like, our people always argue about them calling themselves who they are. Let them be that, because that's exactly what they are. You see what I'm saying? And we are Israelites. It's a big difference between being an Israelite versus somebody who converted, right, to the culture of the Israelites. You see what I'm saying? So when our culture is that, versus it being a religion. Now you become them as far as the religion is concerned, then you can call yourself that. But as far as the Israelites are concerned, it's a bloodline and it's a culture where it's not something you convert to, it's something you're born into. It's a big difference. So you cannot be anti-Semitic by saying, I agree with you, you are who you are, but let me be who I am because I found out my identity now. And you're different than me and I'm different than you. Let's respect one another. You can be who you are, right? And I'll be who I am. It's just that simple.
But the thing is, that wasn't good. That wasn't good enough for Kyrie, because even though he had protection under the First Amendment of freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of an opinion, protected in the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, he could have stood his ground and continued to say, I can't be anti-Semitic if I know where I come from. And he held his ground for a while. He said, no, I'm not going to apologize. I know who I am. I cannot be anti-Semitic if I know where I come from. And I was happy at that moment that I thought that he was going to hold out, that he's going to stand 10 toes down and not buckle. But then he took down the post He apologized. They made him do. They said he had to do all this checklist and all this nonsense. And I was like, man, I said, but you're protected under the First Amendment. You didn't even speak. You just posted. You didn't even say anything. Freedom of speech, freedom of an opinion, freedom of expression. This is social media. God, for God's sake, he didn't do nothing illegal. He did nothing illegal because the movie is legal in America. It's on Amazon. So right then and there, he should have said, I know my rights. I know what I did wasn't illegal. There's nothing I did wrong. And if the NBA and Nike and everybody else would have just canceled him completely, then he could have sued them. He could have been the champion of all black people in America, and he could have sued the big guys and won. That'd have been a U.S. Supreme Court case if he took it to the top, defending his constitutional right of free speech, opinion, and expression. But he didn't decide to take it to a legal level, because at the end of the day, he really had a good case because he really didn't even say nothing. So how would you even know if he was promoting the movie or he hated the movie? Because he didn't say anything. I could post a movie about Nazi Germany, but does that mean I'm pro-Hitler? Does that mean I'm anti-Hitler? You don't know, because I didn't say anything. I just posted it. That means that if I posted it and didn't say anything, does that mean that I hated the movie? That it disgusted me? Or does it mean I love the movie? Same thing if I posted 12 Years a Slave and didn't say anything. Does that mean that I was disgusted as a black man of watching that movie where black people are being called niggers and they're being hung and all this other stuff? Or does that mean that I love the movie and I think people should watch it? If you don't say nothing, how can they know what you were thinking about, what your intentions were, because they can't read your mind? You can't read your mind. So, all right, then and there, sometimes the best defense is silence. You say that you have the right to remain silent. Yeah, I'm gonna keep silent, because if I start saying something, they can incriminate me. And Kyrie didn't say nothing, so he already had the upper hand. If he was held out. If he was held out and lawyered up, he could have took the NBA and the ADL, the Rolling Stones. He could have took them all down, but he didn't do it.
Yeah, one of the hypocrisies that people have pointed out, and that is that it's funny. At this point in time, what we're talking about, they was trying to criticize, Ron, your movie. But at the same time, like you were saying before, Ron, it's like when you go on to Amazon nowadays, you can find you mentioned 12 Days a Slave or 12 Years a Slave, but there's more provocative documentaries out there, like, Birth of a Nation. Like I keep reiterating that, and I have multiple videos on, about the ADL and about how they were, birthed around that. And it was like when, Birth of a Nation came out, in the early 1900s. Now, this was during the time, like just before, Black Wall Street, just before the rebirth of the Ku Klux Klan of the KKK. This movie comes out. It's, I want to say the film was shot by Billy Bitzer, Ashkenazi. The wardrobe was provided by Robert Goldstein, Ashkenazi, right? Like all the Ku Klux Klan, memorabilia, the garbs and all that stuff. They also financed it. I mean, you can just going down the road when you going down the line when you talk about like how was it distributed, like the movie theaters that it was distributed in, the distributors, all that. When we look up and down that chain, we saw Ashkenazis playing a major part in the production and the distribution of the most racist movie of all times. And the reason why that particular movie has the number one ranking is because that movie, and even if you go to the Smithsonian's website today, that movie is credited with the rebirth of the Ku Klux Klan. And the reason why that is such a pivotal time period and why that is such an impactful movie for African Americans is that shortly after that movie was released, it was, shown at the White House. And then the new leader of the Ku Klux Klan, he comes to, of course, he's here in Atlanta. He goes on top of Stone Mountain. He gets this revelation that he needs to start up this local terrorist organization. They start it up. The organizations of the Ku Klux Klan start to revitalize in Oklahoma. It starts to revitalize in Florida. All the places where you see these massacres in the Black community. The prelude to the massacres was the revitalization of the Ku Klux Klan in those areas. Then you have these massacres in the Black community. At the same time, on the TV shows, when people were watching TVs at that time, they were watching shows of blackface. And the shows of blackface were also being put on by, MGM Studios or by Paramount Paramount like films. All of those at the time were owned and operated by the Ashkenaz. And so this is why when, Brother Ron, when you started to get those, or Kyrie started to get grief about sharing your film, there were those of us that were out here in the community saying, well, wait a minute. You guys were sharing this film, and not only did you share it back in the 1920s, 1950s, but it's still on Amazon today. And it's credited of doing way more damage to the community than anything that you can dream of or imply that Ron's movie did. And so this is why it's such, even today is kind of just turns my stomach when I hear about this, because today we haven't got any reparations for that. Like all the stuff, the death and destruction that took place in Black Wall Street that was credited and pulled off by the Ku Klux Klan, like I believe they are liable for that. They are liable for that. So anyway, I'm sorry to get off on that tangent, but just to show you that there's some reparations that's due that they have not given, right? That's impacted the Black community.